ladder because I just don't really. I've been playing a lot more WoW, but yeah, I have a lot of my friends to thank for deck building, constructing, tinkering, and just all the above.
Wow, so ranked is actually where a lot of people, you know, see the meta, get a feel for what's popular. So you rely on your friends for that information, huh?
Yeah, the game felt a bit stale to me when, like, obviously before the Leroy and the Buzzard nerfs, I just didn't really feel like playing that much. And then obviously I made it through the last qualifiers and then the first stage, and now I'm here. So, you know, I'm just hoping I can take it the whole way.
Do you think you'll be playing some more ranked before BlizzCon if you end up going?
Definitely.
Definitely. I can't wait to run into you on ladder. I just have to get up there where you guys are.
Thanks, Rach.
Cheers. Well, thank you. I'm going to give it back to the casters. We got more games for you.
Don't worry, Rach. I'm sure you have a good deck to start laddering with. Zoo is an excellent choice. And did you hear this guy? He's going to start trying hard now. Okay. Which is like, whoa,
sure,
okay, whoa.
Sure.
If
he's going to start trying now,
If
guys,
this guy hasn't been practicing like rigidly on the ladder where a lot of these other guys cut their teeth, like Firebat, which is coming up, he might be scary if he makes it to BlizzCon.
Well, I think he raises a good point, too, is that, you know, on ladder, you hit a lot of random stuff. You don't necessarily hit what you're going to be playing against in tournaments like this. So if you're going to really be going to a tournament, you know, practicing best of fives with your friends, using the decks you see in other tournaments, that's a better way to prepare sometimes than just grinding the ladder once in a while. So an interesting point to be made there.
It is a good way to prepare for tournaments, just playing with your buddies. Playing tournaments does have a different feel than playing just the ladder. The ladder does give you a good way to sort of practice your own moves and
well, you need to get the
see what's
basics
going
down.
on.
You need to practice those sort of mechanics, I guess you could say, all the time, and so you need some laddering.
To a certain extent, absolutely, but if you've mastered at least the basics of most of the decks you're going to be playing, and you know you want to play with your buddies, that's a good way to do it too. It's a little bit of both.
Yep, and play a lot of WoW too. Apparently, I can definitely agree with that.
Is that the secret ingredient here?
The secret ingredient.
Well,
to
it helps you understand the lore of the cards, you know, which gives you that mental advantage, right?
As life coach would say, if you play a card, you are that card. So you get into the mindset of your character a little bit more, then you can make it to top 8 like Stunner. Well, that's going to wrap up Group A like we showed you. We have Group B, the resolution of it, coming up soon with Firebat versus Death Star. And the winner of this will go on to play Hyped, which is not exactly the most preferable thing considering how good Hyped looked on day 1.
Very true, very true. I mean, anybody who takes wins in these matches this morning has a very strong opponent ahead of them, but this is going to be a really good match too. I think both of these players looked really good yesterday, and I'm expecting another great match.
Looking forward to it. I'm curious to see what happens.
Well, taking a look at these two guys here as we're getting ready to see a little bit more about them. You know, do you think Death Star can pull it out here? Firebat, of course, is the favorite because he's been playing a lot of tournaments. In fact, before Firebat was starting to get invites to a lot of these events, he was also playing an incredible amount of weekly cups. He's played in almost like 3 or 4 a week and winning 1 or 2 or placing like top 2. And Firebat told me he has a curse of never placing first place, like always getting top 3, but never ever getting to the last edge here. Thankfully, in this tournament, you just have to get top 4. But still, Firebat, he's not exactly the most confident player based off what I was talking to him.
Death Star did look very comfortable in the chair when he played, and that could help him out a lot if he's been able to adapt to this live environment very well. Firebat is a player who has felt the pressure of bigger events, sometimes even online events where he really felt the pressure getting to him and made plays that he afterwards he's like, that's not how I normally play. So he says he's conquered most of that, and I hope that's true for his sake, for Firebat, but Death Star is a very, very real opponent, and he's ready to make a name for himself already here, so, you know, even Firebat, look out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hunter, of course, we've seen strength of Hunter now in this tournament, and I still gotta say, best ID in the tournament in my opinion, Death Star V3. I love it. I think he's got the ID advantage, but I think in the actual match, Firebat still has a little bit of an edge.
Oh, Star Wars over the StarCraft.
You know, I mean, you have the actual game advantage and you have the ID advantage, right? I mean, Firebat's cool, right? We all love StarCraft, and it was a fun unit back then and everything, but Death Star V3, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go a little bit with Star Wars in this case.
Right, well,
that should be no surprise, though, for anybody.
That's right. Doe's a big Star Wars fan. I got to side here with Firebat. I feel like his preparation can't betray him. There's a very popular saying by some pro athletes. I think Kobe Bryant even says it. I've practiced way too much to fail. Like I've shot too many shots. I've done this too many times. Firebat is one of these players. He's practiced thousands and thousands of times with the very same decks, and he's very meticulous with his preparation. I'm going to side with Firebat this series.
Yeah, I think I agree. He's played infinite games. He knows his way in and out of almost every card in his decks and often his opponents. That is a big deal. He is ready to play. I really think he's going to take this one.
All right, well, let's take a look at the matchup and see what these guys have prepared for the first game. It's Shaman versus Warlock. And what else do we see here, Bandoa?
Interesting. We've got the Priest banned out by Death Star V3 and his Hunter banned out by Firebat. Really smart ban by Firebat. The Hunters are too explosive right now, you know, no pun intended. Too much of a danger to really let those go through. I actually prefer Hunter bans more than Rogue bans that we've seen in this tournament. I think Hunter's a bigger threat.
Hunter is a big threat. Death Star may fall into that trap, leaving his opponent's Hunter open. And Firebat, I know he has really well-tuned lists for those things as well. So,
you know, I thought you said Firebat was planning on banning Priest no matter what. And
so
he left Priest open to ban Hunter.
After seeing those Hunters yesterday,
Was that
can
a
you really
mind
blame
game
him?
on you, Reels?
That's interesting, and this goes back
Mind
to
gaming the
before the
commentators.
tournament started yesterday.
Typical.
And perhaps something changed about maybe he knows something about what's in his opponent's Hunter's deck, specifically that is making it more of a priority than the Priest.
Well, it's interesting, too. We see Death Star V3 banning the Priest on his opponent's side, too, and he's running Priest himself. So just trying to maybe avoid that Priest mirror there, too, which is a little bit erratic. You know, it's a matchup that a lot of people are still kind of figuring out, so I can't really blame him there. I think that's probably the logic behind that ban.
It does stop the possibility of a mirror, and those can be, like you mentioned, a little
They're
more
weird,
volatile.
man. Priest versus Priest can be pretty wacky. Thought steal into more thought steal, you know?
Oh gosh, the chain.
Thoughtception. Yep.
All right, well, game one is about to begin. Another player will go down while another moves on to the top 8. Let's jump into game one. Shaman versus Warlock between Firebat and Death Star. Right off the bat, we see the Zoo player on the coin.